by
Good.
recording.
Good.
So I first met Reem Ghunaim actually last summer in Hamburg, Germany, when I was there for the district conference. But I received her name from Carolyn Jones, who I don't think's on this morning. And when I finally connected with Reem, she was just such a pleasant personality to meet, and she was excited about attending and participating in our peace forum that we ultimately ended up canceling. So it's really thrilling that we can have her join us today. She's a Rotarian in the Rotary Club of Portland, Oregon, and she's also the executive director for the Rotarian Action Group for Peace, which is also based in Portland, Oregon. She's a Global Peace Index ambassador, and she'll tell you more about that, for the Institute for Economics and Peace. She serves on her Rotary Club's Peace Committee, and she serves on the board of Hands of Peace. So I'm sure that she'll share something about that with us. She served on the organizing committee for the Environmental Sustainability and Peace Conference, which was in Vancouver in 2018. I actually attended that, and it was a great conference. She was previously a Rotaractor with the Rotary Club of Ramallah in Palestine. You can see my mobile office picks up all the surrounding noise, including motorcycles. Reem later became a Rotary Peace Fellow at Duke University Rotary Peace Center in North Carolina, and she'll be sharing her experience of being a Peace Fellow in the program there. So while sheltered in place, Reem has been the host of Together for Peace, a weekly webinar series where she interviews peace builders from all over the world about their impact on peace. Very timely topic right now, and it just gives me great pleasure. So everybody join me in just giving a big hand to Reem as our keynote speaker today. Thank you, Reem, and I'll just turn it over to you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Andre, for your kind intro, and Rosie for helping, and everyone for attending. I'm so honored and happy to be with all of you. And I'm excited to share with you a little bit about my personal story, how I came to know about Rotary, what I'm currently doing. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and I'll try to address them. So let's start by my story. I grew up in Palestine, in the West Bank, and Palestine is a conflict zone. We are under the Israeli occupation, and so there's a lot of military invasions. I grew up around seeing a lot of militarism, a lot of violence, and to give you an understanding of what does that look like, I'll share with you a story about my neighbor Suha. So in the second Intifada, there was an invasion, like big invasions, and our city was bombed by F-16. There was Apaches in there. There was a lot of violence. And so Suha, my neighbor, was born in the second Intifada. After a year of all that violence, her mom came to have a cup of tea with us in the morning. And she shared with us that Suha spoke her first word. And I was excited because I wanted to see what Suha's first word was. And to my shock, Suha's first word was tah, and tah means shooting. So a baby's first word was tah, because of all the violence that surrounded her. And I could not believe that. It was so shocking for me. When you live in conflict, you tend to numb yourself because you try to survive and you try to ignore things. But I think that moment for me was a turning point. I've always wanted to make change, but I was working towards it, but I think I just increased my intention to do that. I became more intentional. I became more focused, that I want to change this in any way I can. And so growing up to a wonderful family and parents, I love, they're my role models, my heroes. I grew up in a house where service was a duty. It was not seen as something that is not part of our life. It's a duty. And my parents appreciated education and encouraged education as the way. I've always asked my parents, how can I change things? And they said, education is the only way you can, that's the thing you have power over. And that's how you can change things. When you're more empowered and a critical thinker, you would be able to help yourself and help others. So growing up in this house, and also in Palestine, you don't only learn about the conflict, but also you learn about peace because of the nature of Palestine. So can I share the screen? I just want to show you what does that look like. So here, if you can see my screen, this is this is the hills of Palestine, and there's olive trees and olive branches all over. And so when my parents and I would drive down the road or like go visit a village or between cities, they will always point out that the olive branch is a symbol for peace. So that was a constant reminder in my mind also about peace, other than just the family values. It's just the nature. So I grew up in this tension between peace and conflict. And so growing up and knowing about service and education as values that were important to me, I started, I went to school, I finished my degree in Birzeit University, and then I became engaged in international development. I organized an international dance festival, and I volunteered in different organizations, worked towards advancing the two-state solution as an ambassador for a One Voice movement, and actually spoke. I did a speaking tour in the US, so that was exciting. But through all that, I always wanted to finish my education. I wanted to break the glass ceiling even more, and I knew that I need to have education, especially as a woman in the Middle East. You need to also work extra hard to do the things you really want to do. So I've been, sharing with my family and friends about my dream to study abroad or get higher education. So I'll tell you, this is a funny, cute story. So my mom owns a hair salon. So this is how I learned about the Rotary Peace Fellowship program. My mom owns a hair salon, and she was sharing about my interest in pursuing peace education. So one of the Rotary Peace Fellows who graduated from the program, she's an Arab Israeli, and she came to the West Bank to do her hair. So she shared with my mom about the Rotary Peace Fellowship program. And so my mom calls me and she says, bring a pen and a paper and write this email down. So I was shocked because my mom doesn't have an email, and I didn't know why she would ask me to write an email, and I wasn't sure if she's gonna share the correct email with me, but I played along, and it turned out to be the right email. So I sent the email and I got the link to the Rotary Peace Fellowship program. And I was fascinated when I learned about the program because it felt true for me. It was focused on education. I fell in love with Rotary the moment I saw the motto, service above self. I was like, wow, this is the kind of community I'd like to be part of. This is the kind of like-minded, like-hearted people I want to be part of. So I applied and I got to the Duke UNC Rotary Peace Center, and I felt at home there because, of course, the Duke UNC Peace Center is a wonderful center. I would like to give a shout out to the director, the current director there, Susan Carroll, who was a mentor and amazing supporter of all the Rotary Peace Fellows. And also the Rotarians, who host the Peace Fellows in North Carolina. So when the Peace Fellows arrive, the Rotarians help with their orientation to get, for example, access to a bank card or a phone, or to find an apartment. Because when you travel from different cultures and different places around the world, you need someone to help you understand the culture that you're part of. the new place you're part of. And so Rotarians were very generous with their time and care. And we've all had host families. So big shout out to my host family, Barry and Diana Phillips, who has been like an American family to me. So we've got a lot of support. We've got a lot of care. And so that's the humanitarian or the service aspect of the program that Rotarians are doing there. But to speak about the education experience, I studied city and regional planning with a focus on economic and international development. And I also studied international peace and conflict resolution at two different schools, so the Duke University and University of North Carolina. And so that was really enriching because you access two schools and pick from the different disciplines and start connecting the dots of what you've learned and how that advances peace. Also, it was really fascinating to me, probably the most rewarding is being around the other Rotary Peace Fellows who come from different countries, learn about their stories, learn about their experiences, and learn about their countries and their conflicts and their aspirations for the world. So that was really enriching. We are friends for life. I currently, as Andre mentioned, hosting the Together for Peace webinar series with the Rotarian Action Group for Peace. And I continue to work with the Rotary Peace Fellows that I studied with, that I met through this program. And we collaborate. So I've hosted some of the Peace Fellows there, and I hope to interview more of them and collaborate on more future projects together because they're friends for life. So after graduation, I stayed in the United States. I applied for different jobs, and I got a job with the Rotarian Action Group for Peace as their director of operations in the beginning, and then I am currently the executive director for the group. And I've been with the organization for the past little over 4 years. And to tell you more about the Rotarian Action Group for Peace, it's an entity of like a semi-autonomous organization. So we are an entity of Rotary in a way, and we try to follow their guidelines and support. Really, our mission is to support the peace area of focus in Rotary by advancing that area of focus. And the way we do this is through 3 pillars or 3 strategies. So the first one is to raise the portfolio of peace and Rotary. And the second is to help with peace education in the Rotary network. So provide educational materials on peace. And the third focus is to support the Rotary projects that has a peace element or help promote more peace projects. And for the last part, I am especially passionate about this one because we don't have as many peace projects in Rotary, and we need more of them, especially if we go back to the story of Soha. I want to share with you why this is so important. Let me find that slide quick. Here's us at the Rotary Peace Fellowship Program, as I mentioned to you. Okay, so here if you look at this map, this is from the Global Peace Index. And as you can see, peace is a universal aspiration, but really not a universal reality. So if you look at this heat map, you will see that the peace is varied in the world. So when the color is more red, it means that we are in more conflict. And when the color is towards green, we are in more peaceful places. And so the index really helps us visualize and really materialize what peace looks like in the world. So, which leads us to talk about this very important trend that is less reported. It is not very, it's not highly reported. It's a very important one, and it talks about peace and equality. So if you see that when you are in a conflict zone, you're more likely to become in more conflict if there is a shock to the system, if there is an outsider conflict or violence, the peace status deteriorates at a faster rate. While if you're in a peace country or a peaceful country or a peaceful community, you're more resilient to these shocks. And so when both are exposed to same shocks, the gap increases. And that's very obvious when we start thinking about COVID-19, for example. So the impact on COVID on vulnerable communities is higher than that of stable communities. So that's why I think how we can address this issue through Rotary, I think it is by establishing the systems and the structures and the attitudes that help promote positive peace and peace structure in the communities that needs it the most. So we do that by making all the 6 areas of focus available and accessible to the countries and the communities that need it the most. And in that way, we bridge the gap. So it would be my hope and aspiration, and I believe the aspiration of many Rotarians, is to see more of these peace projects implemented in conflict zones, in zones where people in desperate need for help. Because Rotary that's been Rotary's legacy. That's what we're so proud of. We're a very distinct humanitarian organization. And at the RAG for Peace, we're so honored to be that, to bring that attention to these issues and to help Rotarians focus their efforts in that way whenever possible. But that's not the end of it, and it's not all of it. So that's what we do at the RAG, and currently to share with you some of the projects that we hope to do before COVID. One of them was the Geneva Peace Incubator is still going. So the Geneva Peace Incubator is a gathering of Rotarians, Rotary Peace Fellows, and peace organizations in Geneva, where they would come together to create 20 peace projects. And hopefully those peace projects will be supported and implemented as global grants for peace. So that is a project that we're currently supporting. It's been changed where, if we were supposed to do it earlier this year, but hopefully we currently are trying to achieve that goal by attaching our event to what's called Geneva Peace Week. And Geneva Peace Week is an annual event of all peace organizations around the world. The RAG last year, we were so lucky to go and present our workbook there. And our workbook is a great tool for Rotarians at this time to conceptualize, to learn about, and learn about positive peace. So the workbook that we presented at Geneva is really a way to help Rotarians to think about peace projects and connecting them to positive peace. This idea emerged from, I was looking at positive peace as a great great framework for Rotarians to use. And what is positive peace? Positive peace is a framework that was introduced by the Institute for Economics and Peace. And that framework is also adopted by Rotary, because the Institute for Economics and Peace and Rotary has a memorandum of understanding and a partnership. So as our role at the RAG to advance the peace area focus, we want to make positive peace more accessible to Rotarians and more applicable. So we created the to activate positive peace workbook. So part of the memorandum of understanding between Rotary and IEP, they created what's called Positive Peace Academy. And it is available to Rotarians. And I hope that during COVID and that Rotarians will go to this resource and learn more about positive peace. In the academy, you will see also the RAG for Peace Activate Peace Positive Peace workbook that connects the concepts to possible peace projects and help Rotarians think about projects in their communities, in the world, that can create bigger impact on positive peace that is highly needed in the world. So that's an example of some of the work that we're doing. Geneva, the workbook, and we hoped this year, sadly, we wanted to take a trip to the Middle East, also to bring Rotarians and Peace Fellows and connect them with grassroots on the ground to go to a trip to Israel, Palestine, and learn about possibilities and opportunities for peace there, and maybe hopefully create global grants. But that was canceled, unfortunately, because of COVID. So we wanted to respond to COVID at the RAG, and we created what's called Together for Peace webinar series. And Together for Peace webinar series really hosts speakers and peace builders from around the world and showcase how they are advancing peace even at times of COVID and beyond. And so that was, it was intentional for us to bring Rotarians and peace organizations and peace builders from around the world and turn our living rooms into peace platforms. I think there's power in turning our living rooms into a platform for peace, into a platform for collective action, to raise awareness about issues surrounding us and have shared concerns, learn about shared needs, and take collective action. So that's really what we currently are doing at the RAG. And I hope that you all can join us. If you're not a RAG for Peace member, I hope you can tap into our network. One last thing. The Peace Builder Clubs. Are you a Peace Builder Club, Andre, or how you don't? I'm not sure.
No, I'm not. Honestly, I don't know whether there are any Peace Builder clubs in our district.
Okay. Lori, you are a Peace Builder Club. Oh, great. Okay, so thank you, Lori. Maybe you can be the catalyst in your district. Spread the word. So I will help you a little bit, Lori. So the Peace Builder Club, program really is a great program. It started in Oregon, and District 5100 was led by a great past district governor called Mike Russo. So the RAG looked at this program. It was initially really designed to help fund money for the Peace District, for their status to stay as a Peace Builder District. So that was a way to collect funds from the Rotary clubs. The RAG looked at this model and we thought, wow, this model could be tailored and focused on peace action. And so we liked the concept of a network and the idea of a collective action. And we thought we can take this globally and we can help in spreading education to a wider network. And so we created what's called the RAG for Peace Builder Club program, adopted this program and expanded it worldwide. So it's been in the district for 8 years in 21 clubs. And when the RAG adopted the program, now it's in, we have 200 clubs in about a year and over 22 countries. That's the last I recall the numbers. So that is the power of collective action. So when, and the power of networks. So what the Peace Builder clubs do is they bring this intentional focus on peace at the club level. And so when Rotarians join the Peace Builder Club program, they can join by going to the Rotarian Action Group for Peace website. And there's a form. You can learn about the primer. And once you submit your form, you will be featured on our map, and you will learn about all the different projects that others are doing And our chair is currently leading conversations with peace builder clubs so they can learn from one another and inspire one another. So it's like a subgroup of the RAG for Peace, but it's very active at the club level. And so it is very, very a great program. It's one of our fastest growing programs at the RAG, and we continue to have more peace builder clubs joining. So if you're not a peace builder club, one action you can take during COVID is to call your, assemble your committee. You need 2 people for the committee. Bring excitement to your club, bring excitement to your district, teach them about this possibility that you can tap into a global peace builder club network where you can be part of a bigger cause for peace. And it's really a young program, so we're still developing it and see how we can take this farther. But it's great to, be pioneering in that effort because it's growing fast. So that's all I have to say. If you have any questions for me, I would be very happy to answer them.
Reem, this is Ted.
Hi, Ted.
Hi. Sorry, I don't have a webcam. It is not compatible with my computer, it seems. I'm curious about your family and how you've dealt with the fact that you've moved so far away and what you do about that.
You, Ted. Oh my gosh, this is a hard question because I miss my family dearly. I was hoping to visit them this summer, and because of COVID, I can't. So I talk to them all the time. But my family, I'm really lucky. I won the lottery because probably I'm not the smartest or the, person or the most special, but I lucked out because when you have a support system, my family defended my choices to be in the US and to do what I wanted to do. But there are many girls around the world who don't have that chance. I was born in the right house, and I am very blessed to have the support and encouragement of my parents. So I am forever grateful for them and for their love. I don't know and I think that is important message because parenting is really a precious gift, and parents have power to bring peace to their children, and by the values they instill, by the model they offer. To share a story with you about this, my dad is a medical doctor, so you knew about my mom. She's a hairdresser. My dad is a medical doctor. And so when I was around 9 years old, I went to his library, and I picked the only medical book that was written in Arabic, because at the time I didn't know how to speak or speak English or read English. And that medical book had on the first page the Hippocratic Oath. And the Hippocratic Oath stated in beautiful noble script, Arabic script, that the knife in the hands of a doctor is to heal and not to harm. The poison is to heal, not to harm. And then the Arabic translation went on to say that if an enemy soldier was hurt or injured in the presence of a doctor, that the doctor has to attend and help that soldier. And at 9 years old, I was a little bit confused because while I've witnessed is militarism that, impacted my community in a negative way. And so I asked Dad, would you help the soldier? If you saw a soldier hurt, would you help soldier? And without hesitation, he said, of course, yes. And I asked him, I was confused. And I was like, why would you help the soldier? And he said, it's my duty to help the soldier regardless. I'm my duty as a doctor is to help any patient regardless of who they are. And that was an aha moment for me. It was, you know, truth, I think Einstein said this, truth is beautiful. And that was, and it's hard for us to unlearn what we've learned. And that was a moment of truth for me. I think that was probably my first peace education. I don't know, probably I've learned a lot more about peace before, but that's what I recall, a memory that was powerful. And I realized the power I have within me and the power that every one of us have to really water and irrigate the seeds of goodness in us, the seeds of human values, and focus on that, nurture that, and that we have the power to make the choice between hate and love, the choice between you know, collaboration or or being competitive. Those choices, the choice between conflict, the choice between peace, the choice between understanding or the choice of judgment. And so I've learned that from my parents in many different occasions, but that was an interesting story that I thought you might enjoy. So thank you for asking, Ted.
Okay,
And a great answer, by the way, Reem. Thank you.
Diane Fegis has a question for you.
Diane, okay, let me see. It's in the chat box. Okay, what actions could the Peace Builder program use to address the U.S. issues going on now with the police actions? Great questions, Diane. I think Rotary Clubs has a great opportunity to bring awareness and convene the community. So the Rotary Clubs or the Peace Builder Clubs can act as a platform to convene the communities around issues. So one example I can use from my Rotary Club of Portland. Well, it's a great model. So my Rotary Club of Portland and my Peace Committee really led this initiative for years. They started building relationships with the police department. And they talk to the mayors, they talk to the police department, and now we have this weekly meeting. Before COVID, I have to check what's going on with that meeting now. Probably they meet over Zoom. But before that, we had the police precinct offer their space for the community to come together with the police officers and all the stakeholders in the community, Blacks, minorities, whites, everybody with the police, and sit and have really hard conversations and start to understand each other. And that was convened and facilitated and supported by our Rotary Club. So the key thing they did is we had a good facilitator. So maybe your Rotary Club could use a facilitator or like find a good facilitator who can convene those difficult conversations, ongoing conversations. There's other examples of, and those kinds of conversations bring in, act as, or these meetings act like a magnet, because once you have something start, you will start attracting other people who want to help, and other programs will start being, will come to birth, because there is another organization here that heard of this initiative and started their own, and I think it's called the No Hate Zone, and they make meals, like have dinners with peace officers and the community. They all share a meal together. So I think we need, in Rotary, we have the biggest advantage, and that is we are non-political, non-partisan, and non-religious. And in our neutrality, really the neutrality is to remind us, for me, it reminds us of the fact that our humanity comes first. So our human values are above all. And so when we look at each other from all these different countries and all these different races in Rotary and all these different religions, we see the humanity in one another. And I think that is so beautiful and can be contagious. And Rotarians can take this further by focusing on how to focus on the humane, share a meal, talk from heart to heart with the community, invest in tools and resources that can make this conversation happen in a way that is productive. And I think all of us in Rotary, service above self for me is when we put our human values above any ideology. And so when we learn about racism, or when we learn about, and I'm so proud of Rotary for actually making a statement that there's no tolerance of racism in Rotary. That was a statement that is Rotary has launched. And so when we know our human values, we advocated for human rights in Rotary. We signed the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in Rotary. That's one of our biggest legacies. That's pioneer thinking. And it was really stemmed from our understanding of the power of the shared human values that we have. And so we can educate our communities about human rights. We can educate ourselves about human rights. We can educate others about the history of civil rights in the US, especially at this time, and offer the fair view, like offer all views. And because to me, violence and hatred and bigotry all thrive in ambiguity. And so education on these issues is so important. So yes, you can do practical projects to bring the communities together, but also we need to empower the average citizen and ourselves to learn about these concepts and be responsible. And we are responsible, but really claim that responsibility by educating ourselves. That is so important. So should I go just down the list, Rosie?
Thank you very much.
Okay, my pleasure. Thanks for asking, Diane. Okay, so Dale, from what we are hearing, it sounds like the Peace Builder program is focused on countries and promoting peace between them. Is this correct? I haven't seen an example of that. Really is the but it could be. I don't think it's a bad thing. It's a great idea. I know that one example is Rotary Club in Germany. I can't remember their name. Maybe let me look it up quick. Let's see, where are they? Okay, so here's a club called Bornheim in Germany. They became a Peace Builder Club in September 2018, and they're involved in many initiatives. And they were focused on refugees. So what they focused on is assimilating refugees in Europe who are seeking asylum to be part of the democracy in Germany by empowering them to learn about their democratic rights, how they how they can assimilate, how they can integrate into the political system. So they are integrated by education that Rotary Club specifically offered. So that's really powerful example of how when you empower immigrants, for example, in a way you are creating peace through different regions. So when you're, it's not direct, but I think it's, it could be, it has this rebel effect. Yeah, and I think with the Peace Incubator in Geneva that I mentioned earlier, when you have 20 projects, global grants, I think the global grants itself, that structure in Rotary, if we focus it on peace, we can bring about peace between regions and countries, because for a global grant, you have to have a Rotary Club from 2 different countries to collaborate on something. So that is, that's really what we hope to see in the Peace Builder Clubs. It's the structure that hopefully will give birth to more global grants like this. So it's intentional for us to make it a global network where more collaborations will happen. But something like this has happened already, I have not yet seen that. So it's a really young program, and we would like to hope for more. Okay. So I'm trying to see good questions. So there's a question from Catherine. Can you give a practical example of peace building that worked to bring people of different religions together in Palestine? I want to share something about religions in Palestine. I think there is a misconception because Palestinians there's Christian Palestinians, there's actually a minority of Jewish Palestinians, and the majority is Muslim Palestinians. What's fascinating is that a lot of people don't know that the Christian, actually the Jewish minority also had representation at the parliament during the Arafat era. I don't know if that continues to be the case, but actually the Palestinian community is very united. So we've never had a civil war in Palestine based on the religions. But what is currently happening is really the ideology clash. I don't believe that people disrespect each other's religions. At least in my culture, but I think it's the acts or the systems in place that stems a reaction. So it could easily be painted as religious, and in a way it is when we talk about the ideology of Hamas and like the militarism, and so that is, but that's not the whole story, not the entire story. And I think what is important is for us to elevate what's working. What's working is that communities in Palestine of different religions come together. For example, the Jewish community in Nablus. My friend on his Facebook, he's a Muslim, and he posted him visiting them during a feast, a Jewish feast, Rosh Hashanah, I believe, is that where they have different fruits on the ceiling, and so he went there with other friends and visited them. And the Jewish community in Nablus is very celebrated. They go to the same schools with the Palestinians. They go to the same hospitals. It's the same case for the Christians. When I went to Birzeit University, I studied with Christians and Muslims and everybody. It was, and that's really the fabric of the Palestinian community. So there is a lot of potential of bringing understanding beyond the community in Palestine. But I feel that the political pressures don't help, and sometimes they really dilute and skew the actual problems. And so I think religion is a factor, but there's much more factors that impact how that conflict plays out. Okay, let's see, Rosie. Yesterday I posted on district, okay, promoting. Oh, okay, so there's a question for you, Rosie.
Right. So Andre, do you want me to pull that up right now?
Yeah, if you could pull that up. I wanted folks that may not be on Facebook to see what I posted yesterday that we received on a Facebook post from Rotary International. And this is just a statement. And I think just sharing it with your club and encouraging them to have a conversation with their members, and their members to have conversation with acquaintances, people that they work with, because I think everybody's talking about what's going on in the country right now. And I was really pleased when I read this statement from RI.
Yeah. So meanwhile, I'll go down the questions I want to cover. Are you actually seeing police violence where you are now? here in Toronto, we are hosting peace marches, also a form of peace networking. So thank you, Catherine. I just posted on my personal Facebook a beautiful video of police officers in Portland kneeling down with the protesters. So we can't ignore that there are really bad cops out there, and there's a reform for policing, and how they're trained is important, and how they're even recruited is important. But it's also important for us to acknowledge and empower the good police officers and really give them the respect when they deserve it. I really respect that they tried to connect with the community, and I felt a little bit of pride because I knew that Rotary influence was there, because those police officers continue to you know, communicate with their community and have community policing concepts that Rotary was really instrumental in injecting in their mindset. So that was a beautiful moment in Portland. I probably there are some incidents that I am not aware of. All I'm aware of is that video that I saw of them really kneeling with the protesters and shaking hands and hugging, and really saying to the protesters that we are one. We want the same thing for our community. And I think our leaders need to help people do their job in a way that is promoting goodwill and understanding and peace. And so there is better programming that could be done to empower the police and the community to work together. And I think we should invest in these ideas. Trying to find the second question.
Can you see my screen?
It's too large. Can you shrink it so that it's just that the picture is up there?
It's doing something weird.
Okay, well, we tried.
Can I read it?
I think I can put it on my screen if you want.
This is on the District 5010 website or Facebook page, I'm sorry.
You want me to read it, Andre?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. At Rotary, we have no tolerance for racism, promoting respect, celebrating diversity, demanding ethical, whoops, it just went away.
Can you see it on the
Yeah,
screen?
I can see it now.
Can
Okay.
everybody see it?
All right. Are you sharing it now?
Yes, I'm sharing so everyone can see it.
Thanks.
Do you want to read it?
Yeah, Reem, I think people can just read it for themselves. Can you just show the full screen on your computer?
It's from my Facebook page, the Rag for Peace Facebook, because we've shared it from Rotary. So that's how it looks like.
Okay, that's good enough.
Yeah.
I just wanted everyone to see that if you've not seen this, this is an excellent statement. So when I read this, it drew me back to a point where I took a 5-credit class when I was a school principal, and it was called Healing Racism. And it was run by our district, and they contracted with 2 local folks that put this on every Saturday over about 12 weeks. And what I learned in that process is that there are difficult conversations that people must have. And part of that difficult conversation is listening to a point of view that may be different than your own and trying to understand why that person feels the way they do without being judgmental. And you should be respectful. And if you're going to disagree, what you do is say, I don't think I see it that way, but I appreciate that you took time to share how you approach and view this topic. Um, so racism is just an ongoing problem, and it seems like we go for a period of time when there's no violence and no racism that's in your face like has been in the past week. And at whatever point it comes back, then people say, well, nothing's really changed. But for months and years, what hasn't changed is that people are still not having these difficult conversations. So that was kind of my take when I read this.
I think a disagreement, to build on what Andre is saying, is actually, if we think about it as a positive, it's an opportunity to allow everyone to express their opinions, even if they're differing. I think we need to be more tolerant to be different and be respectful in being different, because that way we can get to change people's hearts. And when we speak from the heart to other people, I think we should not come from a place where we think people are, like, if they're disagreeing, that they're racists, or I think they just don't know for the most part. And it's good for us to help them go through that process of, exploring with them where they're coming from, and give them the respect to process things in a way that is different than ours. But I think labeling people is not ever productive, and on either side. And I think people just have to have open conversations and have that mutual respect. And I think when the Rotarians follow the 4-way test, when in the things we say, do, and act, I think we will continue to have great conversations with other people who are different and who don't necessarily agree. Is there more questions for me, Rosie? I'm looking.
Andre actually has a comment.
Okay. You can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I really want to thank Reem for taking time to be with us today. You're an inspiration, and the work you're doing is very important. I think you've planted a few seeds for those on the call today to think about how their club can be involved in peace building. And I know that, Reem, that we'll be in touch with you in the future and figure out a way that we can use the Rotary Action Group for Peace. And I'd love to see you come to Alaska sometime and talk to some of our Rotarians about how they can be more engaged with their community, take a leadership role. So it's been very timely to have you. And I know that this has been a few weeks trying to get your schedule to line up with openings that we've had, but well worth the time. And I want to thank everybody that zoomed in today. So unless there's any further questions, I think that we're done. Any closing comments anybody would like to make to Reem, go ahead and make them now before we log off.
Yeah, hi, this is Joe. I just wanted to say thank you so much, Reem. It's always helpful and appreciated. I'm sorry. And it would certainly seem that this is applicable to a very broad range of concepts. I'm going to be following Andre as a DG, and I would be very much delighted if you could get in contact with me.
Thank you, Joseph. I would love
Thank
to.
you.
I'd like to thank you all. I really had a great time. You know, it feels always at home in Rotary. I feel among friends and people I admire and I look up to. I know all of you are doing amazing work in your clubs and do service every day for your communities. And that's why I wake up every day, because of people like you. It is my honor to serve you all and to be here with you today. It's the least I can do to help you do your work in the best way I can. So thank you all. And I want to congratulate you for being Rotarians. It's really
Yeah,
needed.
Reem, this is Joe Cash. I am separately sending you my email right now. If you could email me, I would very much appreciate it. Okay.
Okay,
There you go.
great, perfect, thank you.
I wanted to make another announcement that I forgot to make earlier in the meeting. The good news I have to share is that Patty Merritt has been our Peace Fellow Committee Chair this year, and she's had 5 others participate regionally as members of the committee to help recruit and interview potential candidates. And for the first time in several years, we've had 2 applicants for our Peace Fellow program, one for the master's degree program and one for the certificate program. And as you know, only 130 total are selected for this program each year. Lori Draper is a member of the committee. I don't know if Patty's on today. And Shay Brenneman joined the committee as well as a Peace Fellow herself. So I just really think that they deserve praise for the work that they've done over the past 2 months, meeting during this time of pandemic and everything else going on. And they've really done a lot of work. And I think that they deserve praise for us getting 2 applicants this year.
Yeah, thank you.
So
Thank you for supporting the Peace Fellowship program. It's really needed more than ever. Youth are suffering from COVID tremendously, and by being a Peace Builder Club district, you're supporting future leaders around the world to do better and help their communities and organizations. So thank you so much, Andre, for highlighting that.
Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and log off, and I hope everybody has a wonderful week. Don't forget the fun and games tomorrow night at 6:30, right, Rosie? 6:30, and she needs an RSVP so they can assign you a team. Join us for an hour, hour and a half, and I think you'll have fun. Wear a Hawaiian shirt and bring your favorite beverage. And this is going to be our one district effort to have a social hour. And then in addition to that, there is no DG forum on Thursday night because I'll be out of town. So everybody have a great week. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.